In early 2022, after 2.5 years of full-time development and many thousands of dollars spent, Wizard Games had just launched their new free-to-play game TurboShot on Nintendo Switch and mobile. Would this be the small studio's crowning achievement? Would hordes of gamers throng to TurboShot's community, clamoring for more updates and lavishing the developers with their grateful microtransaction dollars? Alas, gentle viewer, 'twas not so. By late 2022, the magnitude of TurboShot's floppage had brought this small studio to the brink of ruin. Hi, I'm Matt Paxman. In 2013, I started Wizard Games. I made some games for iOS and Android. They got some downloads. I made some money. Things were so easy back then. Since then, I've teamed up with some fantastic people, and today we're a handful of passionate, independent game devs who love making stuff together. But yes, game dev has not been without its ups and downs. But today, I want to talk about how we've survived in full-time game dev for 11 years. So, here are my top 6 ways to survive. Well, I don't know if I want to commit to saying they're my top ways. They're more just some suggestions that occurred to me while I was kind of thinking about what. Here are 6 suggestions when trying to navigate the treacherous waters of independent game dev. Suggestion number 1, take advantage of trends, but don't straight up copy. Way back in yonder years, when Crossy Road was first a thing, Jamie and I came up with this idea. Oh, wait. You don't know who Jamie is. Well, he's just this super brainy hacker guy who used to work at Intel with me. He's got his master's degree in comp sci and everything, and now he's my business partner. He doesn't like attention though, so he won't be showing up much in these videos at all, but here's a picture of him spending 12 hours straight in VR goggles. Anyway, we took a look at Crossy Road and said to ourselves, wouldn't this be more fun with zombies and guns? And thus was born The Crossing Dead. The creator of Crossy Road, Matt Hall, actually sent out a tweet saying that it was his favorite of all the quick follow games that he'd come across. So, there you go, seal of approval. The Crossing Dead has generated over $500,000 in its lifetime, and it continues to be a revenue generator today. This strategy is often referred to as the remix strategy, where you take 2 concepts and smash them together to create something fresh but familiar. A semi-recent viral hit has been Ponkel's roguelite Vampire Survivors. There have been many fast follow games, but 2 that stick out to me as great successes both took what worked about Vampire Survivors and combined it with some traits that put a new twist on it, thus opening it up to a new audience. Developer Guerrilla Studio took the concept, replaced the pixelated castles with a cartoony post-apocalyptic vibe, mashed it together with their publisher Habby's mobile monetization expertise, and gave us Survivor.io. Developer Funday Games took their widely beloved IP, Deep Rock Galactic, and combined its unique strengths with Vampire Survivor's core concepts, creating something both fresh and familiar in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Inspiration is everywhere. Trends can be your friend, and honestly help mitigate a certain amount of risk. But it is still best to ask yourself, how can we make this fresh? Suggestion number 2, when possible, spend other people's money. Now, this bit of advice is coming from someone whose company is actually bootstrapped. In other words, we've never sold any part of the company to outside investors. They say that going into business as partners with someone is kind of like a marriage, and taking on outside investors is like another marriage, and I've just never really been into the idea of polygamy that much, so far we've avoided it. With that said, there are lots of other options beside investors. One obvious one is publishers. If you can prove you've got the goods, publishers may be willing to toss an upfront payment your way. Kickstarter is kind of a similar thing, where if you can prove you are something special, you can get some dev money. Courting publishers, or Kickstarterers, requires a great pitch and a certain amount of street cred to convince people that your project is worth their money. One source of funding that cares less about your games themselves and more about the economic good that you're doing is your government.
Here.
Yup, seeing as the video game industry is a $250 billion industry, even politicians are hip to the happening scene and want a piece of the pie for their populace. That is to say, video games can generate jobs and economic prosperity. All over the world, there are tax incentive programs aimed at video game studios. Here in Canada, each province has its own tax refund program, like BC's Interactive Digital Media Tax Credit, for example, which helps us get 17% of what we spend on qualifying salaries back each year. There's also a national program for helping fund research and development. I did a quick Google search of tax credit programs throughout the world and discovered that many countries and states have programs like these that will help even very small teams keep their game devs developing. My suggestion is to do some Googling yourself and look into what might be available on a local and federal level. Suggestion number 3 is find great people to work with. I know the whole mystique of the brilliant solo indie dev is very cool and all, but you know what's even cooler? Not being alone. No disrespect to these amazing developers, I have nothing but praise for them, but most of us mere mortals are just not quite built like that. Here's why I think working with people is a safer bet.
A.
You will get stuff made faster. As we've already discussed, time to market matters if you want to capitalize on current trends, and more man hours equals faster delivery.
2.
You are likely not great at everything. You need people who are better than you at stuff.
And D.
Surrounding yourself with other people who are passionate about making games is a joy. Now, with those things said, I wouldn't go racing into any business relationship without some serious consideration. I've been there, done that, and it often has the opposite effect of what you want. Slow and steady wins the race here. Work with people, but as with all people matters, be wise. Suggestion number 4. Okay, this one's boring, but maybe a lot of this has actually been boring. If it has, leave it in the comments. Boring. If you do like this kind of thing, though, leave it in the comments. Anyway, suggestion number 4. Track your spending. Making a game always costs money. The amount of money you spend each month making your game is called your burn rate. You absolutely must know what your burn rate is. And when you compare that to the amount of funding that you have, you can see what your runway looks like, i.e. the amount of time you have to get your product off the ground before it slams into a wall at the end of a runway. The year TurboShot released, we came dangerously close to using up our runway. But the point is, we knew we had time on the runway to work towards saving ourselves. The more money you save in times of plenty, the more runway you have. Suggestion 5, don't put too many eggs in one basket. TurboShot was not our first multiplayer twin-stick shooter game. We'd made a few before and seen some successes. One of our bigger ones, Guns Royale, was a decently big hit for us and was featured by Apple worldwide. That game took our team of 4 about 4 months to make, and it generated about $150,000. That was a good bet. Every time you make a game, you're essentially placing a bet that that game will make you more money than it cost. You do everything you can to bend luck in your favor, but there's always ultimately a roll of the dice that influences how well your game does. The amount of money or runway that you have is kind of like chips in a casino. The more time you spend on a project, the more chips you are placing on that bet. It's very dramatic and exciting to go all in on something that you feel good about, but statistically, you're going to last longer at the table if you spread out your bets. Frankly, TurboShot was a bet that just got too big. We had a prototype in early 2019 that we'd shown to some publishers and gotten really good feedback on. We even did an advertising test where we confirmed that people would be likely to click on ads for it. Armed with the sense that we were on the right track, we poured more time and resources into it. We found more funding, we hired, we expanded platforms that we were targeting, we redesigned systems, we perfected art. I'm not saying that these were all bad things to do. We learned a ton. We dealt with some stress, had a blast, and we ultimately shipped something that's pretty cool. But during all this, we were continually placing more and more chips on this one bet. And ultimately, that bet didn't pan out. Suggestion number 6, plant seeds. The casino metaphor I just used is useful for making a point, but I don't actually love it, because it makes it sound like game dev or business or whatever is just all luck. I don't think it's all luck. I think game dev is more like growing plants. Each game you design, monetization strategy you pick, partnership you pursue, platform you target, is a new seed being planted. Some will go nowhere, and some will flourish until they become like this giant fig tree in my neighbor's yard that's beginning to crush my hedge. As an example, several years ago we were sent a Fire TV device by a contact at Amazon who asked us if we would port The Crossing Dead to it. We thought, sure, why not? New platform, who knows what could happen? And nothing did really happen, as there were barely any Fire TV devices out there. But fast forward several years, and while we were licking our wounds from TurboShot's sad launch, we noticed something. Hey, our downloads for this random game on Amazon Fire TV are going up month over month. What's up with that? As it turns out, smart TV adoption has really exploded in recent years, with almost everyone cutting cable and just relying on the OS that comes with their new TV. In fact, significantly more Amazon Fire TV devices have been sold than any one of the current gen consoles. This prompted us to pivot our focus towards cultivating that seed. We spent time publishing more games specifically for Fire TV. We made some great partnerships that helped us maximize the revenue we could generate there, and ultimately, we saved the company from this scenario. After a couple of years of focused effort, Wizard Games has become one of the biggest publishers on the Fire TV platform, and we've kind of become somewhat of an expert on how to make money there. If you'd like to learn more about how you might be able to partner with us to make games that will actually get played and make you money on Fire TV, then please just reach out to me at mpaxman@wizardgames.ca. So there you go, plant seeds. A seed could be expanding to a new platform. I hear Pokey and Crazy Games, or is it Pocky? Pocky, and Crazy Games and other web portals are really taking off right now, by the way. A seed could be a new prototype, a new monetization strategy, a new marketing channel like YouTube, but plant that seed and give it enough love to get it going. Then as things begin to grow, monitor the plants that you've started, and when you see one with potential, cultivate it. And with any luck, it will grow into a giant hedge-crushing behemoth. Bonus tip. Make stuff you like. Listen, I know that my first tip was suggesting to use trends, or in other words, make stuff that other people like, but it's not going to do you a lot of good to pick something that you hate to work on simply because you figure it has some sort of shot at commercial success. My suggestion is to pursue something that in the great wide world of things liked by others is also liked by you. With that said, there are always parts of game dev that are a bit of a slog. That's why one of the things that we do at Wizard Games is set every 6th week aside as a game jam week. We've definitely had a few fun ideas come out of the game jam weeks that have led to an actual release. One example is a cute little game we've just come out with called Go-Go Robot. After buying a logic toy for his son, Jamie was intrigued by the idea of creating a puzzle game where the player has to evaluate the level, choose the robot's movements in advance, and see how it plays out. What resulted was this fun brain buster where you give the Go-Go Robot instructions to navigate through a level to the goal in the fewest number of instructions possible. There are spike traps, conveyor belts, and other brain-bending elements. There are also power-ups that will allow you to shortcut the solution, should you choose to do so. Go-Go Robot is available on iOS, Apple TV, Google Play, and Amazon Fire TV. Please check it out, leave a review, and let us know what you think. And if you've actually made it this far into this video, first of all, thank you. Hopefully it entertained you or gave you some food for thought. If it did, please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment with any questions, critiques, or anything else you might want to put. Anyway, all the best. Cheers.